Hello everybody, today video is about what to know about processor or CPU chips, no matter the Ryzen, AMD or Intel. So first before you pick the processor, you need to know about which generation you are using. So as example, this is a third generation processor, so it's matching with the motherboard. You need to check out which generation of processor it's compatible with. So one more thing you need to know about picking the processor is the socket. Ryzen or AMD usually using AM4 socket. So if you want to use a CPU block or motherboard, you need to make sure it is using AM4 socket and compatible the CPU version or generation it is using. Alright, that settled the compatibility and which processor will be using. And one more you need to know about is the processor speed. This is a base clock 3.6 and the max clock 4.1. Which Ryzen or which CPU you need to see about this speed, not about Core i9 or Core i5. And one more you need to see about 6 core 6 thread. But the first thing you need to see about base speed and max speed. Let's take it out. It's not unlike the Intel, it's coming with the cooler fans and its original chipset. See, this is the AM4 Ryzen AM4 socket. Careful, this is a very sensitive component. These are the most crucial things. And the second thing is the cooler. It's a basic. The cooler, you can use the fan for a normal cooling of the CPU. This fan will be cooling on top of this CPU. Or you can place a CPU blocks, which is AM4 socket for the Ryzen, or CPU block of the Intel. Intel have 1200 and it coding 1511 is not mistaken, is the socket for Intel. You need to find the code or the socket type. So if not, you cannot be used for its version and you need to change for the socket. See this? This come with the thermal paste OEM. You don't need to buy a paste. For a higher performance, you can use a high speed paste on this plate and put any cooler or CPU water block on top of the CPU chip. Remember, we call this a CPU, not the tower is the CPU. Tower is tower, processor is the CPU. Okay, thanks. That's all the information about the CPU before buying it. Take note, you need to know about the speed, base speed and max speed. About the core and thread, 6 core, some have 6 core 12 thread. That means it can multitask, something like that. And look for each core. Okay, thank you for the information. We will see you in the next video. Before you mounting the processor, you see each side have like 3 pins and special 4 pins. In here you will see 3 pin, 4 pins, 3, 3. So you need to align these 4 pins onto the 4 pins. Align it. First you need to open this lock. Open this. Pull up. You see the plastic is moving. Take the CPU. Align the 4 socket. See, don't mistake it. This is important things. Careful when you put the processor. Do not force like that. It will slot and it will not move. Push this with the lock. Done. Before mounting the stock cooler of the CPU, see these 4 screws. You need to open this screw and replace it with the cooler on top of the mounting. It already has thermal paste, so you don't need to put the thermal paste onto this.